Welcome to Real World Witness, everyone. This is Chrissy, and today is May 15th, Monday. This is my book launch week. I'm a nervous wreck, to tell you the truth. I don't know what's going on, but as soon as Dr. McKinnon pops in, I will put her on, but I wanted to talk. First of all, the show today is gonna be amazing because Dr. Margot McKinnon, she had a near death experience, but she's also had out of body experiences. So this is going to be very interesting, and she's an Oxford Ph.D. So I'm anxious to talk to her. She has had a lot of experience with the spirit world, I think, and I think everybody's going to love her. Now, I wanted to do a few things. So first of all, before I forget, because every time I do a show, I always forget to do my shout out to Harley Ray. So I wanted to do a shout out to Harley Ray for Harley Way Boutique, and hold on, I'm trying to figure out how to put this on screen. All right, okay. Did that work? Okay, I think you can see it there. Yeah, so Harley Ray Crystal Shop. If you go and you use RW Chrissy, you get 10% off of your purchase from Harley Ray Boutique. They obviously, and some people were asking me, like, where do you get? Well, I get it from Harley Ray. So sage crystal, protection crystals, candles. It's really great. So anyway, Harley Ray Crystal Shop. Once again, use code RW Chrissy and I think I put the code wrong on the bottom, but it's RW Chrissy for 10% off. Figures. Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to mention really quickly is that my book is coming out this week. May 20th is the book launch party, and I will be, okay, so Delphine is going to co-host with me. So I've got my friend Dustin is going to be on, who created the book cover, which was gorgeous. I've got the copy editor that you all helped pay with my fundraiser. She's going to come on. She's an award-winning author, and she teaches writing. So I think that's going to be a very good mix of people. The other thing is I'm going to have two people who've already read the book on. My niece, who is she's all about books and stuff. She consumes books. So she's going to come on and talk about it. My friend Julie Miller. And of course, Delphine has read it too. And I know a lot of you I gave to just to get a temperature of like what people were thinking. So anyway, so that's going to happen on Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. So I'm anxious to see that happen. I think it's going to be fun. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride because I don't know what the heck I'm doing when it comes to doing it, but hopefully it'll launch okay and people will find the book. That's it. It's fun. It's a fun book. The character, she is a royal starseed. Did post, I think, on my social media, I got these Princess Starseed Warrior t-shirts made, so I'm giving 3 of them away. Well, I might be giving only 2 away. But anyway, I've got prizes we're going to give away. Delphine is going to do a couple of 30-minute readings. It's going to be a fun night. So I'm anxious to get that started. Excitement. So as soon as, let's see, I talked to her a few minutes ago. So I know that, I have to go to YouTube to pin it. Oh, okay. Delphine was telling me what to do. Dr. McKinnon pops on, we will talk. So how's everybody doing? I see, of course, my sensei, Jay Rocco, Carrie, Delphine, Mary Jean J, Lori, who else? Brianna. Hi, guys. Thanks for coming. I hope you guys I think you're going to like this. She's really, it's such an interesting person. And I think it's going to be really great. I think the key for tonight is going to be, how we can find out our true purpose, which is a huge so we will. She said she was going to pop on. I gave her a few minutes because she got, of course, the stupid times. I get the times all screwed up every single time. It's crazy. I can never get the time zones right. So anyway, so she should be on in a moment or two. So anyway, what else is going on, people? I think that I've got so much that I want to discuss tonight. So hopefully she will pop on any minute. So while we're waiting, I am going to talk about uh, near-death experience, which is so interesting. As you know, I had John J. Davis on a couple of weeks ago. That was fascinating. And I think that what's interesting with Dr. McKinnon is hers is a little every experiencer is very different, which is so interesting. We each have our own what word? We each have our own unique. First of all, we're all unique individuals, so we all have our unique experience when we die. I mean, there's all different people that have these near-death experiences are always different. Everybody is very unique to their own self because it is about ourselves, the things that we've gone through, the things that we have experienced in our life. And I think that guides almost, or that kind of enhances, or everybody's near-death experience is different. Just as all of us connecting to God, we are all God's source, however you define that. I say God, but however you define that. And we all have our own relationship with God's spirit source. So that's the main thing. And I think during these times when we've got so much going on in the world, we have to start like standing in our own strength and really understand who we are. Like, what is it that we are going to put up with, in other words? What's going on, and what, the world, what the baddies want, what they want for the world is way bit different than what we want as human beings, as AI is starting to emerge and all this other crazy stuff going on. So I think it's important that we start really learning how to look within and stand in our own truth. And that's my main thing. Okay, so here she is. Let's see. Let me see if I can put her on. Hi, Dr. McKinnon. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So I kind of gave him a little bit of your background. You're an Oxford Ph.D. You've written 2 books. I think that you were divinely guided to be a teacher, which is amazing because being a teacher is it's very special people. Only a special person can really, I think, inspire others and inspire our young people. So that's why I love that you're a teacher. It's amazing. And you've had I think guidance to start this project called you have this dominance theory, which we're going to get into later on, because that's fascinating to me too. But I know you've had a near-death experience and you've had some out-of-body experiences. So I guess I kind of wanted to start you introduce what you would like us to know, and kind of, what were you doing before? Because I know it started at a young age for you. So why don't we start there, and then we'll kind of progress from there. How about that?
Perfect. Thanks. I'm just trying to get myself it looks like I've kind of got myself a little bit jigged here this way. But anyway, I don't know why that is. But my story is that I don't know anything different than the way I am. So I was born being able to see spirits. It's been a natural part of my life. My parents were very, very good about supporting me, and they didn't have a lot to teach me. My grandmother, she had it too. So she would
Mhm.
confirm what I saw on my mom's side. And so, yeah, I just always had it as, part of who I am,
Right.
as part of my identity. So, yeah, I just kept going. And I think what I'm most intrigued at for my own life is,
Mhm.
um, some people want to work out their body to see how high they can jump or how fast they can run.
Yeah.
I want to know how much of my spirit dimension I can develop in this lifetime.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think that that's so interesting to me because I've been spiritual in the sense of I've always believed in the paranormal, super. I mean, like I follow all those shows over the years, the paranormal shows, supernatural, and I think that we all have that within us. And some people they're just like, oh, that's just a bunch of BS and all that. The world is so much bigger than what we're seeing. And so it's hard sometimes, I think, for people to kind of think outside the box and understand that. And it's great when you're young and you had parents that didn't foo-foo it away, because that's what happens. I think that kids especially are very, they can, I really believe, little kids, they can see things that we don't as adults. And I think it's because the way that we are programmed in the world, right? To kind of dismiss it, not listen to your intuition, not so that's I love that you kind of stuck with it and you had a really good nurturing family that allowed you to do that, because people don't, people as adults or now are just trying to figure it out.
Yes, well, I come by it honestly in my family, and there's always somebody in the family who has it, and it happens to be me. My uncle, who passed away in World War II, he haunts the armory in Kingston, Ontario, and he's even documented in the newspaper, and people see
Wow.
him and that sort
Yeah.
of thing. So it's part of our family culture. We understand it and we
Hmm.
appreciate it and value it. So I was very lucky that way. But in doing my PhD, I did a lot of reading on children's spirituality. And one of the
Hmm.
things I think that really struck me was that if you have parents who are not supportive,
Hmm.
and if they say, oh, don't be silly,
Yeah.
or it's just your imagination, that the kids can um, grow up to not really understand what reality is, because
Hmm.
those are experiences for many of them are more real
Yeah.
than this physical tangible world right now.
Yeah.
um, so that's the danger, and very often people have had their experiences young.
Hmm.
Mine, probably my first memorable experience that I could talk about would be when I was 3.
Hmm.
But some kids, it happens to them when they're young. And if they don't have a way to process it, it becomes a lifelong journey
Hmm.
into adulthood, where as adults, they finally go back and try and find out what that experience meant or
Right.
what was it. So probably some of your viewers are in that stage of their lives where they want to know more about what this whole spiritual dimension is.
Exactly. And I wanted to ask you now, I know you had a near death experience, young, and then also as a teenager, right? So I wanted to ask you, what was because I know one was sort of, I'll have you explain it, but I find it interesting because one of them, because the one that you had as a teenager, to me feels more like it's an out of body experience because it was so profoundly, I mean, and that the other one, I think, where you were sort of told you were listen to your inner voice, or you listen to the voice. So can go start with that one, and then we'll go into the next one because it's just fascinating.
Okay, well, the first one, like I've written 2 books. There's one,
Yeah.
this one, and this one. I start
Okay.
this book. This was the first one, and I started this book telling of the 4-year-old experience.
Okay.
And when I was 4, I was putting my little doll Michael into his crib in the living room, and my parents and family were all in the basement watching TV. And I was putting him to bed and pulling up his blanket, and I heard, "You are to be a teacher. Just like that. Like I'm really
Yeah.
imitating it. And I just said, okay. And I had
Right.
opportunities as I grew older and into university and that to do other things, but
Hmm.
I couldn't because I promised that voice I would be a teacher. And
Wow.
I became a high school teacher, and
Hmm.
I absolutely loved it because um, I I love teaching and I love seeing young people get on their feet and kind of transcend
Yeah.
difficulties. And I particularly like working with kids who are from kind of struggling,
Hmm.
difficult circumstances. So they were
Yeah.
my kind of my passion.
Hmm.
So that was the first one when I was 4. But you know how your experiences just carry on? Like I had
Yeah.
dreams. I remember I asked for a dream when I turned 40, and I
Hmm.
said, show me a dream for my next decade. Now, I'm not
Right.
exactly answering your question, but I think it's important for people, your viewers, to hear this.
Yes.
Um, I had it. So I said, could you bring me a dream for my next decade? And I'm
Hmm.
not a dreamer. Like I might remember 3 dreams a year. Like I don't. But I said, could you bring me one? And I had this dream that I was cleaning my little bungalow house, my real house. And my house had, and to make the story short, my house morphed into this massive yellow brick mansion.
Wow.
And it was room after room, and each room had like painter's claws, and somebody was painting it out white, and beautiful windows and
Hmm.
everything. And it was yellow brick, and I went outside to see how big this house was because the hallway was never ending. And then
Right.
I looked up and I thought, and I saw a pink flower growing up the back. So I put that story in here. Well,
Okay.
now I go off to Oxford to do my PhD. And there I am standing behind like this, looking at the building. And here it is, a yellow brick Victorian with a pink flower growing up the back, big pink tree growing up the
Wow.
back. And I thought, I am standing in my dream right now. I asked for this when I was 40, and here I am now. And so I really highly recommend to all your viewers, start documenting your stories,
Hmm.
write them down, track them, because they're not over yet.
Yeah. I
You
believe
know,
that dreams. It's amazing because yeah, dreams. They listen. I've had dreams where like what I've been getting in the last like I dream almost every night. And I remember probably 90% of my dreams, which is weird, I thought, because most people don't, but I don't know. But like I'll have a dream where like it picks up from where the last dream left off. But I'm like, it's so like I'm living in another I don't know what the word is, another time, another realm, another dimension. It's so interesting. So yeah, and I do believe, but yeah, you can ask. All you have to do is ask and open yourself up. That's all it is, really. Uh,
yes. And then have a look at when you seem to be having a lot of spiritual experience and when there's a gap.
mhm.
So, how can you bring out more? What are you doing that makes them more powerful or more directive or whatever, more
Mhm.
useful? And
Mhm.
when do you have these dry spells where you're not getting anything? And see if you can
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
some relationship there. But to go back to your original question, I had that 4-year-old experience, which told me I
Mhm.
had to be a teacher. Then I went
Mhm.
off to university, and at 16, now some people, when I'm telling my stories, they want to label my experiences. Oh no, this one is this
Right.
one, and this is this type. And I tend not to do that myself because I don't care what the label is on it. I
Mhm.
don't read a lot about spiritual things. I just
Mhm.
go by what my guides tell me, and that seems to work for
Yeah.
me. So
Mhm.
anyway, I'm at university now, 18, and I was very, very sick. And I had this nurse who was looking after me, and she had this date with this guy she always wanted to go out with, and she said, "Oh, I really have this date, but I can't go because I have to look after you." Well, okay. we'll go on the date. I'll be fine. Right. And then, did I
Right.
have a dream? Did I have an out of body? Did I have a near death? I always called it a near death because that's
Mhm.
how it felt to me. But there's no proof because I wasn't hooked up to any kind of monitor. I was
Right.
very, very sick, and I was supposed to have a nurse sitting at the end of my bed, and she left. And in the
She
meantime,
left.
in the
Uh,
meantime,
in the
uh,
meantime.
in the meantime, my spirit came out and it started flying on the ceiling and it went up the stairwell because this infirmary I was in, it was in the basement of
Mhm.
my dormitory. And it was on the ceiling and it came up and it saw all the girls were lined up to go to this ball. They had ball gowns on. And we had a
Mhm.
military college just nearby. So the
Oh,
girls were
okay.
all lined up to go to this military ball. And I saw one girl, she looked at me and I did a somersault in the air. And I said, "You've seen your first ghost." And then I
Oh,
flew off because where I was going was to see my roommate. And still on the ceiling, and I burst in, and she wasn't there. And I said, "Gotta go." And I flew out into this light. And then I
wow.
came back into my body like this. And then the nurse came in shortly after and she said, "I phoned you. I let it ring forever and you didn't pick up. I thought you were dead." And I said, "I think I was dead." And
Yeah.
this is what happened. And I said, "Were the girls going somewhere tonight?" And she said, "Yes, they were going to the military ball." And I said, "I saw them." And she said, "You couldn't have seen them um, because you can't even get out of bed."
Right.
But I don't care if people want to call it an out of body or a near death. It was still my
Yeah.
spirit coming out,
It's
right?
your
Your
experience.
spirit can come out. If it can come out when you die, it can come out while you're alive,
Yeah. I agree with
right?
that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
people meditate. That's what people do. They meditate and they have these experiences. They go,
Yes.
your spirit can be separated from your body totally.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, but I use that story with one of my students because I noticed that her eyes, she was 18, and I noticed
Mhm.
her eyes went dead, like had no
Ugh.
life in them. And
Yeah.
I teach teachers, watch your students' eyes. When their eyes
Mhm.
like start to dim, they need help. They might not be able to articulate it to you, but they need help. And
Yeah.
so anyway, I said to her, do you want to come in and have lunch in the classroom? And she
Mhm.
said, okay. And I said to her, something's wrong, and I see you. I see
Mhm.
you in there.
Wow. Yeah.
And it turned out that her best friend had been murdered, and her best friend had called her on the phone. Well, her phone had rung, but there was no caller ID on it.
Yeah.
And she couldn't get to her phone in time because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And then she found out in the morning that her friend had been murdered.
Oh
Um,
my.
and she said, I think I could have saved her life if I'd gotten to the phone at 2 in the morning. And I
Mm.
think I'm responsible. And I said, well, you know what? I had a similar experience, but from the other side of that story. And I told her the story and I said,
Yeah.
who I wanted to see was my best friend.
Right.
And I burst in to find my best friend. She wasn't there, so I had to go. So that was your best friend just saying
Right.
goodbye because it had no caller ID. If it had caller ID on there, it would
Oh,
have been her
interesting.
calling, right?
Right.
So I had coffee with her. She'd be in her 30s now, about 3 years ago, and she was off to do her PhD. And she said to me, "You saved my life because I was really contemplating suicide. Like more than that,
Oh,
I was
wow.
really quite ready." And I said, "What made you stop?" And she said, "You looked at me in the classroom and you said, 'I see you.'"
Wow. I just got chills. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important to recognize that,
Mm-hmm.
especially kids. I mean, anyway, yeah, that's amazing.
So that story came in handy. I don't care if it's called an out of body or a near death or whatever, because it saved her life.
Yeah.
That story, being able to tell that story to her. So the other one I was about 36, and I was doing a ceremony, and I dropped, like I just went boonk, like this, and my
Wow.
spirit came out, and it went up into the most beautiful unconditional love that you could ever, you know, like I had to, it felt like this. And I felt like I was breathing in absolute unconditional love. And in that moment, I was thinking I had to open my mouth really big to get my eyes really big so I could see how big that unconditional love was. For some reason,
Yeah.
that made rational sense to me at the time. I don't know
Right.
how I thought I could get my pupils bigger, right? But anyway, I was going up. And then my mom came down because she had passed earlier, like a couple of years earlier. And so she came down, and she had her big white smile, but I could see these other spirits going up also around me. They look kind of like gray, like shooting up like this. And then my mom said, "You can't come any farther than here. So you have to come back, you have to go back down." And then my spirit went hook back into my body. And I was still like, and then when I came to, because it was my friend calling my name, Margot, like this. And that's what brought my spirit back in. And that's how you call your spirit back in. Like you have to keep talking, saying the name, and keep their spirit in the body. So I came back in, and then I realized like your life is different when you've actually experienced that amount of unconditional love.
Yeah.
And then you become kind of sad afterwards because it seems you can't create that same degree of unconditional love down here on earth. And then you wonder
I don't think
why.
you can, because right. Well, it's because it's the way that I describe it's God. It's all loving. It's like, and the thing is what people don't understand is we are a piece of God. So when we're supposed to come down here and do our part for humanity, is sort of how I look at it. Everybody has a different role, but because we're so dumbed down here on Earth, they keep us in these little boxes. People have just completely forgotten who they are, the power within, what they're supposed to accomplish. And to feel that, I think that you also have to learn to exhume that, to export that love, have that forgiveness, to like have that empathy for another person. And that's another big lesson for people. And now with everything going on in the world, like I said, so many people are searching to find that connection. So it's amazing that you were able to feel that. And so then you wanted to stay there. You didn't want to come back.
Well, I had three little kids. So, and I was loving seeing my mom. But when I came back, and I kind of came to, because it took me a while to remember that I'm Margot McKinnon.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Like I was looking around going like at my hands and looking kind of at them and looking around and, oh, okay, yeah, I have a body. Right. I'm Margot McKinnon. And being a teacher always comes back to me as the thing, right? So you're Margot McKinnon, a teacher. But you know what I decided to do, Chrissy, was I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to try my very best to recreate that unconditional love everywhere I go. My classroom is going to be that space where students can take risk with their academics and try out new ideas, but they will always be supported and loved in here. But that doesn't mean that we become doormats.
Right.
It's about how do I teach them? Because we have a natural hunger as a human being that we want this unconditional love, because our spirit dimension remembers that unconditional love. It longs for that unconditional love. And some people just think anger is the way to get it, or frustration, or manipulating people, or whatever, right? But I thought, I'm going to create a classroom where students can feel entirely themselves. Their eyes are alive and excited. And my job was to maintain that all the way through the school year.
Right.
And the kids told me that my classroom was the only place where they could be entirely themselves. I'm very proud of that.
That's awesome. That's amazing, because especially when you're in a teenager, you know, so many things are going on in the world, you know, in your little world when you're a teenager like that. And have a
Exactly.
safe, it was like a safe place where you could like be yourself, learn, expand. This is the other thing I was going to ask you, because you're a teacher. Were you ever reprimanded, or, you know what I mean? Because now you know how the school system is, the education system, which is a nightmare these days, a lot of it. What were you allowed, like, were you ever questioned as to how it is that you are, you know, running your class, or what was the, I guess?
Well, you know, I taught for 25 years, and I had one dad question my teaching. So I had to have a principal come in and observe me teaching. But what I had done was, it was Chinese New Year. So I had the year of the rat and the whatever dog, whatever
You're
they
the
all are. So
dragon,
I
the
had them
rabbit.
out. Yeah. And the kids were, and we just had a Chinese New Year. And I was teaching in a highly Chinese Vietnamese community. So we were just exploring around with what they were and kind of the backdrop to them, and if they could find their year and then write about whether they actually match those characteristics. And somebody thought that was witchcraft. So that was probably the least of what I did in the classroom, but it was where I got reprimanded. But the rest of the time, no.
Well, that's
But
great.
I taught high school English, so that meant we had to do, I don't know what it's like in the States, but we have to do Shakespeare. So Hamlet, where he sees a ghost at the top of
Yeah.
the castle,
Yeah.
who is his father. And we would spend a whole period talking about ghost stories and what they saw. And most of the kids had a ghost story to tell, whether it was at their grandmother's house or something they experienced themselves. And some of
Yeah.
them hadn't ever told anybody this story, but here it was like a free for all where you could tell your story.
That's amazing. See that, and I mean, the culture that with nowadays, the culture is all about paranormal, and I mean, look at the Harry Potter series, you know, just the magic, and you know, all this stuff that's out on TV and movies and things. Superpowers is a huge thing these days, and so I think it's amazing that you were able to have that honest discussion and let them be themselves. You know, I've been went to school way back when, but I don't remember ever having a teacher that was like, you know, we had to do test. Like, it was always just so much. Okay, you have to memorize for the test, take the test. You know, it was so very regimented. And so, and then of course, you know, as my life went on, I, you know, got into the things that I was interested in, and you know, that's sort of how I developed. But a lot of don't have the courage to be that way. So it's nice. Did you find that your students were did they after, like, did you ever talk to them after they graduate, or out of class? Were they, you were like, oh well, I thank you very much, you know, what was their reception after in their lives? Did you ever hear from them again, or, you know?
Yes, I did. And they said they'd never had a class like that ever then or even now that they went on to university or wherever, where they were required to think deeply about who they are and what they believe. But I did have, I talk about in my work belief spirits, and I could see, because I can hear sometimes the voices around the kids. And I had this one boy in my class who I could see him going darker and darker and darker. And so I said to him, hey, can you look, something's happening to you, and you can either tell me what it is and I can help you. And if I don't know how to help you, I'll find somebody who does. But just tell me what it is. Something's very, very off here. Let me in. Let me help you. And so he said, well, I don't even know how to explain what's happening to me, but I could hear belief spirits around him. Like they say things like, "You're stupid,"
Oh,
and they say
yes.
mean, like, and even horrific things like, you know, get a knife, kill them all. They'll say all
Oh
these
my
real
God.
bloody things.
Like evil, basically,
Real
spirits.
evil,
That are,
because there's a
yeah.
dark side and they can hear it. And it's
Yeah.
quite often my kids who are quite talented, like really gifted and talented,
Mhm.
I'll find. And so anyway, I said to him finally, I said, "Do you hear bully spirits?" And he said, "What do you mean?" And I imitated what I could hear around his head.
Yeah.
Just finally he said, "Oh my God, thank God." He said, "I thought I was going crazy. He thought
Yeah.
I thought I had to kill myself."
Oh my gosh.
And I said, "Well, I'm going to show you how to get rid of bully spirits. It takes 2 weeks." So I
Mhm.
showed him how. And I said, "But you have to come to school every day. You can't miss a day." And he came
Mhm.
back after he graduated and he said, "You need to quit teaching. You need to tell everybody about this bully spirit." Because you can have bullies in human form and you can have bullies in spirit form.
Yeah.
And the
Oh
same
yeah.
way you have
And
to
this,
deal with bullies down here, you have to deal with those bully
mhm.
spirits as well. Um,
Yep.
so I look at some of your school shooters, the ones that are, knifing and that. Well, they're hearing bully spirits,
Yeah.
or else they
Well,
wouldn't be
and
doing
some,
that.
right. And some of them, I think they go down the whole like rabbit hole of, I mean, we know there's, I mean, I guess I can say this on YouTube. I don't know. I guess I'll try it. The whole the satanic, like all of that stuff that people get, that young kids get exposed to too. Sometimes it depends on what their path is, but those spirits can attach to you, and that's the other thing that's so important for people to understand. And we're in a battle for good versus evil. I mean, that is so clear with what is happening in today's world, and that's why it's so important to kind of ground yourself in who you are and know who you are, and then also be able to recognize, like you're able to recognize when you need, when within people, how to help them, or like that they're going through something like that. And so I think it have to be like hypersensitive about what's going on in the world today. And what were some of the things that you told your students to like keep them grounded, or what did you tell that student? What did he have to do to try and get rid of this kind of evil spirit that was around
Well,
him?
basically, you can't give in. So if
Hmm.
you look at my model here, you
Yes.
my camera is kind of off. I don't know why, but everything looks crooked to me, and I even my head looks kind of crooked. But anyway,
Here,
um,
let me see. I'll try. Hold on. I'll try and pull it up on my computer so I can show it to everybody. But go ahead. Keep
here we
talking.
go. Okay, so
Here we go.
like I have my computer up on a little lift in here, but anyway, so you have 5 dimensions of self: body, mind, spirit, soul, oneness. So here's my body.
Right.
My mind is my logical, rational self. There we go. My
Yeah.
mind is my logical, rational self. My spirit is the real me. It's the one that remembers unconditional love from the other side. It longs
Hmm.
for that love. It's my passions. You ask yourself the question, uh, have I created the life my spirit wants to live?
Hmm.
The soul is your purpose, and oneness is your connection to God, creator, universe, whatever. Like you were
Hmm.
saying earlier, that is part of
Hmm.
us.
Yeah.
God is part of us.
Hmm.
And but so is oneness, all time, space.
Right.
We are all one.
We're all one. Everybody's connected, and that's what
Yes.
people miss. Being down here, I feel like we're in a different. Obviously, we're in 3D. We're vibrationally. I've spoken to a lot of people who are, they feel like it's sludge down here. I guess is a good way of saying it. They feel sludged. It's just somebody. I think it was my friend Delphine. I can't remember if it was Delphine or my other friend that said, uh, "You are like it's like being Yeah. Anyway, I can't remember. Anyway, never mind. But I just feel like it's like you're just lower. We're lower vibrationally, and so I feel like when you say spirit and soul, I think we are just trying to figure out like how do we raise our vibrational level to get to the 5D? Because that's a whole big thing that's out here these days in our universe of spirituality. People are, we want to get to the 5D. We want to get to 5D. And so what are your suggestions for that?
Well, I want to finish with my student
Okay, go
because
ahead.
he could hear these bully spirits telling him to do bad things. And I said, so what you have to do is
Mm-hmm.
go over to your mind dimension and
Mm-hmm.
say, does that voice make any logical, rational sense to me? Then you say, okay, that, like, you look at so what is it telling you to do? Then you have to say
Right.
no, 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 no. And you have to really hold on tight to who you really are, which is your spirit
Mhm.
dimension. And just like any bully
Right.
down here in human form, what they want to do is ruin your life.
Yes.
They want to ruin your life. They want to make you miserable. They want to make you afraid. So you have to just say, I don't listen to you. I don't listen to you. I don't listen to you. Go away, go
Mhm.
away, go away. And if you can do that for 2 weeks,
Mhm.
usually 2 weeks. I mean, I can't promise everybody it's going to work in 2 weeks, but you just have to
Right.
say, I need to just stop here a minute and repel it, just like you would any other bully on the street.
Right.
And then eventually it will go away. Why? Because it's no longer working. So if
Right.
you were a bully here, down here, and every time they stole your lunch money, and then you
Mhm.
gave them your $5, and now you're
Right.
carrying 10, and you give them your $10, well, you're an easy mark. So you
Exactly.
just have to stop, 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 and put your hand up like this and say, I don't listen to you. I don't listen to you. And then you go back to who you really are. So, for
Mhm.
example, I had this student whose father was really stepfather was bullying him because he was gay. So he was
Mhm.
about grade 11 or something. And so one day, his eyes were getting dim. And I said, come and talk to me. If I can help you, I
Mhm.
will. And if I don't know how, I'll find somebody who does. And he said, well,
Right.
I'm gay, right? And I said, yes. And he said, well, my stepfather is calling me all these terrible names. So I got out a piece of
Right.
paper and I said, well, what's he calling you? And I started
Mhm.
writing down everything. It was all like what a bully would say, right? All
Yeah.
these terrible things. And I said, well, are you those things? No. And I said, well, who are you really then? And so we converted everything, the negative, into a pot. Are you useless?
Yeah.
No, I'm. And then we filled all this. Then I went and just tore up that negative stuff and threw it in the garbage where it belonged. And then
Yeah.
gave him the nice list. And I said, carry this around in your jeans, put it up beside your bed, put it in your locker, wherever, but carry
Mhm.
it around with you. And always remember who you are. And then I saw him after he graduated high school and after he graduated university, and he was actually a server in a restaurant. And he said, don't worry, this isn't my full-time job. This is my summer job because I start teachers college in the fall.
Oh,
And he said, do
wow.
you want to know why I chose being a teacher? And I said, well, why is that? And he said, because I want to look at a struggling student and say, who are you really? And so students who are getting kind of this bully spirit thing, put your hand up, no, and then
Mhm.
go into who are you really? And you stay with who you really are. And even
Right.
who you really are and who you want to be. Because I also had a student who was getting beaten by his dad. We had to pull him out,
Oh,
social services, the whole thing.
wow.
And I said, what's your biggest fear? And he said, my biggest fear is I'll turn out like my dad. And I said, well, stay with me for the next 3 years, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12. And
Right.
let's work toward you becoming the man you want to be.
Right.
So all of that is helping him develop his spirit, right? Who are you
Yeah.
really? What is the life
Mhm.
you want to live? And then you go over to your mind dimension, your logical, rational self, and say, well, how am I going to make that happen for me in this lifetime?
Right.
So those kind of techniques, Kristen.
Yeah. Well, and two, it's like with anything, if when a problem presents itself to, within our life, whatever the problem is, you have to, most of us are like emotional reaction right away, you kind of get upset, blah, blah, blah. It's training yourself to like, okay, we need to critically think about this. It's training, okay, so what do I need to do in order to change this? And, what's the next step? How can I get, what do to get out of this, or whatever the problem is? And that's a huge, huge thing. And what I think is in today's education system, they're not teaching kids how to do that, which is so unique about why you were able to do that. I think that needs to happen. And I do think, what do you think about, moving forward? I mean, I'm hoping and praying that things are going to change and we're going to get a better education system going. I mean, what do you think about, I should be a spirituality marrying, sort of educational, there should be a class specific to this, developing your own self within the education system. I mean, is that something that you think might
Well, that's what I did
here?
my PhD on. But do we want to pull down the share so we can see our faces bigger?
Yes, I'm right now. I know. I was like, well, I'll finish. Wait till she finishes talking.
There we go. All
right, there we go.
Well, that's what I did my PhD on. And I said, if we were going to bring spirituality into our school system, what would our model be? And I did my PhD in England because they have a designated course kids have to take from kindergarten all the way to grade 12 every year. They develop this part of themselves. Now, some of them call it religious education. So they'll take a religion framework, but then they move toward the spirituality part, more individual. But they believe in England and across many other countries. So North America is very different than around the world for having nothing.
Right.
And but in the UK and in Europe, they have a designated space because they believe to be an educated person, to call yourself an educated person, you should be able to articulate your beliefs about your, what makes you human, your relationship, do you believe in God, any of those kinds of questions. You should be able to articulate that. And you should be able to know how to explore that topic. Do you want to take a religions course? Do you want to take more of a spirituality? But when I went to England, I thought I was only doing spirituality, which is individual.
Right.
Whereas religion is more in, my idea when I went there, I thought religion is a group, community, belief system that has certain sets of beliefs, rules, protocols, and all of that. Whereas spirituality is more about who am I? What brings me meaning and purpose in my life? How do I find awe and wonder in this world I live in? What are my passions? What are my beliefs about the supernatural world?
Right.
I thought that was spirituality. But when I got to England, they said, you can't just do spirituality without religion. I said, why not?
Right.
And they said, well, because spirituality belongs under religion. And I said, no, it doesn't. And in Canada, we'll never bring it back in a religion's framework.
Right.
And I don't, we took it out back in the 60s, religion, but we didn't replace it with anything else. And I always say, I had to take math all the way through school. I never needed math beyond grade 4.
I think so.
But the thing is that we all die.
Yeah.
We all will hit upon struggles in our life. Where are the lessons about how to navigate our belief systems and even our experiences about the supernatural world? and we just don't have a place. But in many, many countries, the students have to write essays on it and everything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is the thing as far as religion goes. I mean, I've never, listen, when I was lucky, I mean, when I was like 8 years old, I'm like, I'm not going, I just have not been a religion, just, I feel is man-made. Religion is man-made. Spirituality is, your connection to God, and the universe, however you want to say that. And so I've just always been that. Never anything that is, in my opinion, I'm going to say this, in my opinion, anything that is structured by man is just meant to control, to get people to have a certain ideology or a certain, put you in a box. And I don't like that. It's like everybody has their own personal, I think, connection to God, connection to spirit. And I think that we should be allowed to develop that what is the word? Unhinged, without being hindered, I guess is a good word. And so I think it's so interesting that, so Canada, they did get rid of the religion in school. Well,
Well,
that's
we
what they
used
did
to,
here.
historically,
They
we
took
had,
God.
oh, sorry, did I butt
No,
right
it's
in?
okay. No, they took God out of school here. I mean, nobody knows anything about God
Well,
at
we
all
had
here.
originally we had two school systems, and
Mm-hmm.
we had a Catholic and we had a Protestant school system.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 60s, they started to secularize, and they
Mm-hmm.
kept the Catholic, but they secularized the Protestant. So they've strained out anything that had to do with religion. So it's basically a Catholic or a purely secular,
Mm-hmm.
having nothing to
Right.
do with religion. And
Right.
I'm going, well, you went too far. You
Yeah.
strained out everything. And what are kids supposed to be doing when they have their questions about life, their own spiritual experience?
Mm-hmm.
Where are they supposed to go to understand that?
Yeah. Good question. I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's why there's so many adults out here that are just searching, searching to find out, how do we get to that level of, vibrationally, energy wise, how do we
Mm-hmm.
get to that spot where, like, we know who we are, we know what our
Right.
purpose is, we know what we're doing here, because so many are just like lost. And I mean, I've been lost in my life. I don't even know. I still, you still just kind of go through life and you're like, okay, well, I feel like I need to do this, kind of a thing. And then it's the same thing like with my show. I was like, well, I feel like I need to do this, so I guess I'll do this. You kind of have to like trust your. I feel like you do get guided, but you have to hear it and you have to listen. And I think that's another key. People, there's so much static out there of everything that's going on in the 3D realm of everything. People forget that they don't look inside to say, okay, what do I want to bring that's positive into this craziness of the universe, the world that we're living in right now. And so I think that is, trying to figure that out is it's been a tough road. But I think a lot of people now that are watching shows like this that are, they just want to know how they can make that connection, what their purpose is, and how they can better the world. And I think that's really all we're supposed to do. It's just about
Well,
helping
I
people
think
love.
so. Yeah, I think so. And I think that people are getting tired of the body mind world.
Yes.
They
Yes.
want to explore. Sorry, it looks different on your thing than mine.
I know, it's
Um,
weird.
I know. Like when I use Zoom, it seems to go, I can do this. But anyway, okay. So they want to explore these three things. They're
Right.
tired of these. However, spirit dominant. Now, can I explain the dominance theory?
Yes, can you? Yeah, would you explain each one? Like, how do you describe each one? Like, yeah, that would be great.
Okay. So we have a body, which mine looks like mine and yours looks like yours. But the body is
Mhm.
also where you live and how you keep your house and the car you drive, anything that's material.
Right.
The mind is your logical, rational self. It systematizes things. It does your taxes. It pays your mortgage, all those things.
Right.
Your spirit is the real you.
Mm-hmm.
It's your eternal self. It's the you that came from absolute unconditional love from the other side and will move back into that after you pass.
Mm-hmm.
Your soul is your purpose. Like your spirit came down to have a really nice life, but there's some sort of purpose. So it's even when you're in dark times, in a struggling time, you can say, what is the purpose of this struggle? And that's your soul speaking. One or oneness is it is the part of you that is God, is universe, is universal consciousness. It is the part of you that longs for connection and belonging, to be at one. So we have these, and you're born dominant. Now, I got this theory because I was doing my master's degree, and it was a homework assignment. How are the body, mind, spirit related? Well, because I've had spiritual experiences my whole life, it never occurred to me to read a book. I went home, and I have to have, like, my floors have to be sparkly, everything. I have to live in a very uncluttered place.
Yes.
And so I came home, I lit a candle, I sat down with my yellow pad of paper, and I said to the universe, so how are the body, mind, spirit related? And in my living room, not the living room I'm in here now, it was in my old house, but in my living room came this massive figure into my living room.
Wow.
And it had the same voice as that, you are to be a teacher, had that same voice. And it said, you have 5 dimensions, because my question was only body, mind, spirit, right? But it said you have 5 dimensions. You're born dominant in one of them, and you grow the other ones over time. So a body dominant person loves the physical part of life, hair, makeup, nails, fashion, decorating, sports, especially those kind of sweaty sports, you know, that rugby, football, hockey, those ones.
Right. Yeah.
Mind dominant. They love the logical, rational systems, math, science, engineering, accounting, law, anything that's a system. And mind dominants tend to end up being the boss of organizations, the managers, because they know, well, they don't always know how, but they think they do, how to manage large groups of people. But the problem, what's happening now after COVID, and people have had a break from the body mind world by staying isolated, is that they don't necessarily want to go back to that mind dominant world anymore. They want to work from home. They're taking, the young millennials are taking jobs that are part of what their spirit wants to do. They want to have a soul purpose. They want it to be meaningful work. They don't want it to be just going to a mind dominant, logical, rational, working for somebody else. So that's mind dominant. Spirit dominant, which is what I would say I am, is I value, and spirit dominance value, unconditional love above everything else. A sense of peacefulness, a sense of who they are. And spirit dominants tend to see this world as unnecessarily harsh and abrasive. It is not the unconditional love that they remember from the other side that they long for and they miss. So spirit dominants can feel like a stranger here on earth, like they don't belong. And oftentimes they just want to go home now. And they'll say that to themselves, I want to go home. It's like having to go to a party every day, put on this body suit, and go out into a world that's not that much fun. And I had students in my class like that too. And I said, well, stay here because we need to work on your soul purpose, because otherwise you're going to miss the whole reason for being here. And I would say to them, if we do anything this year, we're going to find your meaning and your purpose this year. And we're going to find what brings you joy, that's going to want you to create the life your spirit wants to live.
Right.
So soul dominants are, they value their purpose. Like for me, I'm spirit dominant, but now this is really taken over.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've grown this so much. And so it's hard for me to tell if I'm spirit dominant or soul dominant now. And I like the idea when that big spirit came into my living room and it said, we have 5, we have a spirit and a soul. I said, really? I always thought the spirit and soul were the same thing.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. It said, no, your spirit is your eternal self that will go back into unconditional love. And your soul is your purpose, your sense of meaning, your significance in this lifetime. But soul dominants, they can't work at a career that's not on their soul purpose. And they don't have to make a lot of money. And you'll see them on shows like Dragon's Den or something, you know, where they've invented something that they think is going to cure everything. And they'll say, well, how many have you sold? I've sold 10. I've changed 10 lives. But these mind dominant dragons over here, they want dollars and cents.
Right.
Whereas these guys, they'll go one, like you'll build up your your subscribers on here over time, right? Because that's your soul purpose right now, and your spirit dominant. So that's what is like. I couldn't work. I live in an oil and gas town. I couldn't work in oil and gas. It's not part of my soul purpose. And don't ask me to do anything that's not on my soul purpose for long periods of time, you know, because I can only do this. And then oneness dominant or really value connection and belonging. And I did for Teachers Convention this year, the loneliness epidemic. And because loneliness is a sign that your oneness dimension is low.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Just if you're going to the doctor because you have, you have low energy, you can go to your body dimension. Okay, your body dimension is low. If your finances are shaky, go over here. Your logical, rational system self is low.
Interesting.
So, I don't have any joy and I want to go home. Well, your spirit dimension is low. So one of the things we were talking about when I asked you, what do you want to talk about on our interview?
Right.
And you were saying, what did you say? You said, how do you find your inner strength? Well, you have to find your inner strength by recognizing where you're low, where you're kind of have a weakness. So because I was spirit dominant, I was spending most of my time longing to go home or staying in my own imaginary world. Now, let's face it, I was high functioning. I mean, I had a super cool job and, I have my university degrees and everything, but I could be more if I transcended that longing to go home. Right. And so that was holding me back. And you see, I had a spirit dominants tend to have a saturation point every day of being human, and they shut down, need a nap. Well, I had a low, I'm pretty sure a lot of your subscribers, the people who are viewing this, have the same way.
I end up, it's like, okay, I have to turn my brain off. Like I just get, you know what I mean? Because it's so overwhelmed going on out there. Like, and I don't even watch news. I have to tell you, I don't watch news, but people send me stuff on look at this, look at that. I'm like, why am I even bothering looking at it? But yeah, sometimes I just have to turn my brain off, and you reach
a saturation point. But my saturation point was really low. Like, I just hard to even, if I went to one party, I would be like, whoo, can't go to another one for 6 months. But I had to increase my levels of being able to deal with people. Now, I taught 100 teenagers a day, which is pretty good accomplishment. But at 3:30, I just wanted to crawl into my bed, but I still had 3 kids of my own, so I had to keep going. But I increased my threshold for people, because how could I do this work, Chrissy, if I had a low threshold for people? I wouldn't be able to get up there and talk about this all day long.
Right.
So to get over your weaknesses, and some people have really fantastic ideas, like a really great vision, because I work with people on how to get that bold vision to come true for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have your bold vision over here and here, over here and here. And then you have to go over to your mind dimension. How can you logically, rationally bring that into fruition here? So that it doesn't just stay in the spirit world, that you can actually make it real here on earth.
Yep.
So to answer the question about your inner strength, I had to really go deep into what was really holding me back, my weaknesses, my, you know, especially it was because I'm spirit dominant, and my wanting to go home, and sometimes even wanting to be invisible, or thinking I was invisible, because I felt more like a spirit than I did a human being.
Yeah. I like the invisible part.
Yeah, I do a session. I do a workshop, a webinar on not being invisible anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. Well, yeah. And the other thing I was going to ask you about is, like, I really believe, and people that watch this show, I know, believe, you know, we pick and choose. We are a soul family. I think all of us that are together today, connected, we decided to come down here at this particular time. I think teach people, or to grow in that, to help people sort of come out of their day-to-day box, I should say, and start looking at themselves and growing spiritually, looking to God, because that's a big thing for me. I mean, this is the thing, I'm not religious, but I do think that, you know, during times like these, we have to really look towards God or source, or whatever you call the higher self, the higher spirit, the higher, I guess, creator. And I think that we have to really learn to stand under him. You know what I mean? Like, trust that things out okay, that do what you need to do to move forward in your journey. But always, like, when things bad happen, you know, people freak out and they get fear. Fear is like a big thing down here. They use fear for everything. And we have to, like, no fear. You just have to, like, jump in with 2 feet, be who you're supposed to be, speak your truth, stand up. I mean, that's my main message, really, because I'm so tired of hearing, well, I'm afraid to say this, and I'm afraid. I said, come on, just, who are these people that are going to say, so what? Block them, or they don't have to listen to you. They can turn the channel. You know, you just have to stay strong in who you are and learn who you are, and then don't apologize for it, because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm sorry. You know, they kind of recoil, like if anybody, you know, confronts them, or, you know, they don't like something that what somebody said. And I'm just like, gee, people, you just got to learn to, like, stand up, be in your truth, be who you are. Just, it's so simple. Life can be simple if you have to stop worrying about what all these outer things are going to do and say. And I think that that's my main message for everybody. And I think that we are a soul family. What do you think about that? You know, do you think we all kind of, you know, knew each other and then came down, we'll see when we get there, you know, kind of a thing?
I've been doing a lot of thinking about that, actually. I do think that not everybody wants to be here.
Yeah.
Because remember when we were on my other podcast that you were listening to, and I was talking about my son who was told me that God told him he had to come down and be a human. He was 3 years old. I'm tucking him into bed, reading him a story. And he said, you know, Mom, before I was born, God told me I had to come down and be a human.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, okay, really? Like, what did you say? And he said, well, I didn't want to come. And I said, why not? Well, because it's so nice over there, Mom. It's not very nice down here.
Right.
Oh, and so did you tell God that? Yes. And what did God say? Well, I had to come. And so I asked him to show me my mother. And he took like a photograph of you. and showed me the photograph. And I said, oh, she looks mean and I don't want to be her son. I carried on because I want to encourage truthfulness in my children. And I said, oh, okay, well, what did God say to that? He told me I had to come down and be your son. So I got inside your body. And then when I was born, I looked at you and I said, I thought, oh, you're beautiful and I'm glad you're my mom.
Aw, that's so
But
cute.
that, the interesting part for me is that my son was born dead.
Ugh.
So he was feet first. He had the cord wrapped around his neck. He was like black, practically black blue from no oxygen coming down.
Yeah.
And they had to resuscitate him. So I think that conversation happened to him when he was in that state of the in-between. And so I think he didn't want to come. And when I think there are some spirit dominant people who really did not want to come down here. And my mission, really, my sole purpose is to help them find their exquisiteness. That's why I called my first book, The Exquisiteness of Being Human. Because at that time in my life, I had just discovered this dominance theory. And I was still in that stage of wanting to go home.
Okay.
And I decided that I was going to find the exquisiteness of my life, which is what you're talking about, Chrissy, about knowing who you are, what it is that makes you excited about your life, your passion, and going for it. It doesn't have to make you a lot of money. It doesn't have to do any of those things, but find something that will make you really happy.
Right.
And so I called this The Exquisiteness of Being Human. And then this book takes the extension. And because my spirit dominants were saying, okay, I figured out I'm spirit dominant. What do I do about it?
Yeah.
Then you go over here. But this book is really fantastic because what it does is it helps body mind people grow into these dimensions. And it helps these guys grow into these dimensions. Like it just helps you no matter where you are. And I look at each of your dimensions here like as if you're on a spectrum. How body am I? You know what? I'm happy with being body competent. Don't need to be body dominant.
Yeah, that's like me. I don't. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just like I actually. I don't know. I'm not. It's so funny because I talk about this in my other shows. Sometimes bring up my brothers are very materialistic. I'm so opposite that, and it's hilarious because we grew up in the same house. So I always wonder how. And I always said, I think I was switched at birth because I am nothing like that, nothing like the rest of my family, and so I can relate to that, and I feel like yeah, I mean I'm more like I've said I'm more spiritual. I feel like for me I don't understand how people don't get what they're supposed to be doing because within me I always and you said how people they always go like towards what it is that they want. I always wanted to be a investigator since I was little. I read Nancy Drew, all the investigation shows, on TVs and stuff. I always wanted to be an investigator. That's what I ended up doing. I mean, I went down that road. I mean, it took me a while to get there because I didn't figure it out until I was in my 20s. So, it takes a while, but I made it, and and I wanted to help people, and that's basically what I ended up doing. And yeah, you don't make a lot of money doing these things, but I felt fulfilled. You know what I'm saying? So,
Exactly.
but I knew that at a very, and I knew that at a young age. So I'm trying to figure out, I don't understand how people don't. How come some people have that within them at a young age to go? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do people develop that are now adults and they're still trying to figure it out?
Well, they go and read my book, Chrissy, because they show you how to do it in here. Yeah. Because, and especially when I started here and now I came over here and I look at how much of it do you want to develop? So, I have a lot of people who are retiring now. So from mind dominant jobs. And now that they don't have to go to work in these mind dominant jobs, they're coming to me because they want to explore this part of themselves, especially their soul purpose. They really want to know their purpose. because they don't want to miss out on the whole reason. Like a lot of them didn't even love their job that they spent 35 years doing.
Right.
Like I loved my job.
Right.
But they don't even, because it was part of my purpose, my sole purpose. So I loved mine. But just to saying to yourself, okay, we'll go on over to your mind dimension. What else do you want to learn? What else do you want to know how to do? What are some more passions? How can you bring more unconditional love? If you're only spirit competent, why don't you become even more? Like raise yourself up a notch, you know?
Exactly.
Go and find your soul purpose. Soul purpose. I have to go backwards on your camera. Soul purpose.
I know.
Yeah. And then oneness, getting more connection and belonging. So if you're lonely, it's because your oneness dimension is low. So what can you do to elevate your oneness dimension? I've got all the sun coming in now. I have a west view coming this way. All the sun's coming in, Chrissy. So yeah, it changed my life. And I really, you know, I like to speak to people who are spirit dominant, but also mind dominant people who want to. And the thing is, when I'm speaking places and I come down to talk to the audience and there will always be somebody who will say, well, have you tested everything, tested your model empirically and all of that? And I said, you know what? I'm really not here to convince anybody of anything.
Right.
I'm here to help people who have what I have.
Yeah.
Like a curiosity about the spiritual dimension, or they have experiences that they want to help processing. I'm not here to convince anybody. I'm not here to even label what my experiences are, whether they're NDEs or OBEs. Or, I don't even care. I just however it resonates for you and what your interpretation is of your own experience.
Exactly. And I mean, that's what it is. It's people, you know, there's so much information out there. You have to sort of like pick and choose what resonates with you. I mean, some people watch this person over here, that person over there, what information. And it's all about discernment too, you know, kind of like taking it in, all this information, and then discerning for yourself what resonates with you, what you want to do moving forward. So, you know, well, thank you so much for joining me. We've been on for about an hour now, so I really appreciate you coming on for that, because I knew I had a really good conversation with you. So thank you so much for coming.
Okay, so anybody can go on my website.
Yes.
Which is, are you going to post it along with the clip?
Yes, I will go. Yeah, I'll put it in the links on the YouTube channel, but I'll put it on my website too. I'll put it on the website as well.
Because it's www.drmargotmckinnon.com. Dr. DR. And don't forget the T on my name, Margot McKinnon.
Okay. And where do they get your book at? Can they order it from Amazon?
Well, you can order it off my website.
Okay.
So I don't have it on Amazon, and people ask me, why don't you have it on Amazon? Because I don't know, I'm doing it this way, and if I find I need Amazon, I'll go to Amazon. But for now, I'm happy the way I'm doing it. Order it off my website, and it'll be in the mail that day.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and maybe I'll talk to you again sometime. You know, maybe have you on another time.
Sure, that would be
fun. Book or anything else you have. Just shoot me an email.
Okay. Thanks so much, Chrissy. What a pleasure.
Yes, same here. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. All right. That was Dr. Margot McKinnon. I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. She's a wealth of information. Gosh, man, I always hate that. Once in a blue moon, I'll lose my train of thought. There was a question I was going to ask her, but maybe I'll email her now that I remember it. But yeah, she's fascinating. I mean, you know, I love the fact that she, you know, she's been working with teenagers, which is a huge thing. And I mean, you know how these days, how kids are, it's insanity what's going on in the schools. And I find it interesting that she was able to keep that, you know, keep her spiritual, you know, bring in the spirituality and kind of like guide these kids into like moving away from the darkness that seemed to be enveloping them. So it's so interesting And I hope you guys liked it. It was really I really just enjoyed her, and I enjoyed her when she was on. I had seen her on Next Level Soul, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just so fascinating, some of the things. And I like the fact too, she was very open as a young child, and her, as far as the spirit world goes. And so she actually was nurtured within her family. Most families are like, oh my gosh, what are you, yeah, your little friend, okay, they don't believe you. So I was glad to know that there are some parents out there that do take what their children say seriously. And thank you, Lady D. I hope everybody's okay. I I think, yeah, I don't know how to fix. There was somebody, I think somebody said there was, I caught briefly that there was a little bit of an echo, but I think her end, I don't know. I couldn't, nothing was, I tried to do a couple things and it didn't work. So, but yeah, so anyway, so yeah, hopefully that kind of maybe helps. I think I definitely would like to get that book. I think it's so interesting. So she came up with that dominance theory during when she was doing her paper for the PhD, for her PhD and stuff. So and I do believe that that's right. I mean, five dimension, because we always say we want to be in 5D, and it's all about getting to that 5D. It's what it's about. So interesting. Um, yeah, she made major difference in her students' lives. I mean, I mean, these kids. I mean, can you imagine? It's what I like about it was she was able to see them, the light in the almost, like when she was like, she could see the darkness overcoming, like, something wasn't quite right. I mean, she's very gifted to be able to see that, because most teachers, most everybody, they don't pay attention to that. So I think it's really interesting. Thank you. Oh, Carol Ann. But yeah, so I think that I know that on her website, which let me bring up her website while I'm talking about this. I meant to do it while she was on the phone on the show. But so let's see. This is her website. Hold on. Let's see here. Oops. Uh-oh. What did I do? I did something. Oh, there we go. Okay. So she has webinars. She is Here's this. And she does a lot of stuff, I know, with other people. So, she says at Spark the Spirit Productions, we love adventure, professionalism, elegance. We breathe life into everything that we do. And she basically has been, kind of, here, mind. She just explains all of this. Here, I'll put the link in the chat right now. So if you guys want to go over there and check out what she has. So interesting. And I think too, moving forward with everything that's going on in the world, we have to like start connecting with people like her that is looking at these types of things and has worked with kids. Yes, the psychic kids. Oh my gosh, yes. And I forgot to ask her about that. That was the other thing. Yeah, there was a show years ago that was on I think it was on Sci-Fi. I'm not sure, but it was called Psychic Kids. And what it was is these kids, they were seeing or hearing spirits, okay? And they were just spiraling out of control, and their families, the parents didn't know what to do. The parents were like you know, they'd gone to like all these different doctors, nothing was wrong with them, they couldn't figure it out. And so they hold on. Jeff. So anyway, so they had this show, and they would bring Chip Coffey, who's a psychic medium, and his team, they would host maybe like 3 or 4 of these gifted children and teach them that what they were seeing and hearing, like that they were psychic, like they had abilities, they had the ability to see spirits or hear spirits, and then they would develop them, and that's a huge thing. And I do think today, now that we have such, the veil is very thin, the veil is very thin now. And I think that there's a lot of spiritual warfare going on. Obviously, we know that there's a lot of spiritual warfare going on. And I think that that is um, why it's so important to kind of talk about these things. And like, if you have abilities, like, and we didn't really get more into the dreams, but the dreams, because I think when we dream, and I mean, Soldier of Light, and Jason, Brian, and a lot of people from our soul tribe, they have had dreams where they're fighting a spiritual war. It's not, and really, is it a dream, or is it your spirit going in, another realm, another, and doing the work that you're supposed to be doing as a warrior? So there's so many things to, it's not just like, we just have to like expand expand our vision a little bit as to what is going on. But yeah, I mean, spirituality and the warfare that's going on is just, it's just crazy. And I think that there's more psychic kids, I think, which I would categorize them as star seeds, actually, because I think that they have the ability, they know who they are, and they know that they've got these abilities to kind of move us into another level of human existence. And I do believe that. So it's so interesting. I'm glad you, Vicky. um and so anyway, so yeah, so that's what I have for today. And I guess so. And I'm not sure if Lady D, I think, are we doing a show on Friday too? I can't remember. I know we're doing our roundtable on Wednesday with Joe and Dennis. I don't know what the topic is yet, but yeah, I think there should be a Star Child school. I really do. And and I wanted to bring that up, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll have her on another time and maybe bring up the Star Child thing. I don't know how she feels about that, but anyway, but I think, I mean, people like her that have been working with kids in the in education system, and does can see these, the issues spiritually and what people are going through, and they have their own abilities. I think they would be amazing to have a star seed child school, a star seed school, or like school for supernatural abilities. I mean, what I mean, yeah, Harry Potter, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who have abilities, like innate God-given abilities, not spells and all of that stuff. Like, depends, because you can use it for good and bad. But people who have these abilities, I think it would be amazing to have a school like that, Brianna. I think, yeah, I mean, maybe that's where we can go with all this. I mean, when we get everything straightened out on Earth, maybe that's something we can do, is have, create a school like that for the gifted. But not only that, but I don't even think it's just for the gifted. I mean, we all have innate abilities. We do. I mean, it's just a matter of learning how to hone in on your skills, and then using them, and trusting your intuition, which is another huge thing. Is trusting your intuition. So funny. You guys are gonna meet my niece Taylor on Saturday. She's amazing, this girl. But she has such a really good intuition. She was at this one brokerage, because she's a real estate agent, and she was at this one brokerage, and it was a nightmare, whatever. And she saw the writing on the wall, like she could see quickly. I mean, I'm talking within about 3 months of being involved with what was going to happen. She's like, I'm not liking this vibe. Nothing, it's not working right, whatever. So she gave her 2 weeks and she left. And thank God she did. And, now it's coming to fruition that she's realizing that, oh my gosh, I really did dodge a bullet here. Because at first, she was like, well, I don't know, maybe I made the wrong decision. Now she knows that. I said, you have to trust your gut instinct. I said, you always have to trust your intuition, always. It's the biggest thing. And so, copyright? What about that, Brianna? Anyway, so it's so interesting that, she's very tuned in her own intuition, and she's very tuned into energies. Like when she feels like there's something negative in the air, whatever. And so anyway, I sent her a bunch of sage and stuff, and so now she does all of that, which is great. And I gave her protection prayer and stuff. And I think he that was asking about how to pray. Actually, I did a video. It's just about, all you do is, listen, it's about having a relationship with God, source, creator, and you just talk like normally. Like before I do my shows, I always do a protection prayer. I always do I always ask for guidance to let, whatever information that they want out, that he wants out, God, what creator, our, guardian angels, whatever, what they want to come out. And so that's sort of how I do it. And you just, and not only that, when you're stressed out or like, listen, the cats got out. This is a great example. These two, ran out of the back. It was coming in the back door, and they ran out. And I'm like, and it was getting dark. It was getting dark, and it was starting to rain. This was a few weeks ago, and I'm like, oh my god, and I can't see nothing. I mean, it was dark. I'm like calling them and calling them. They're not coming to me. And so then I just said a little thing. I said, can you please just guide them back into the house, because I don't know where they are and I'm worried, And that's what I did. And I kid you not, within 5 minutes, the two of them walked back inside. I mean, you have to just trust in that relationship and just, asking you shall receive. I mean, that's what it is. And so anyway, so yeah, so Delphine, are we doing a show on Friday too, or just on your channel? I forget what we're doing. Anyway, I'm just gonna plug what we're doing because I don't know. So, anyways, we're doing our roundtable on Wednesday, and then on Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, I'm gonna do it's called the online book launch party for the Mystery of the Gold Coin. And I'm going to have my good friend Dustin Gold, who created the beautiful book cover. I'm going to have the copy editor, Deborah De Nicola, who she's amazing. She is actually, she believes in all the stuff that we do, which is amazing to even find her. She's actually an award-winning author in her own right, and she teaches writing at a university. So it was like a divine intervention that I found her. She's going to be on the show. And then my niece is going to come on. And okay, gotcha. All right. So I'll talk about it in a second. So anyway, anyway, and then we're just going to talk. And I've got awesome. Oh, maybe should I see if I can? Let me see if I can pull them up here so you can. The Princess Starseed T-shirts. Oh my gosh, I only got 3 of them. So where is it? Oh yeah, here we go. Can you see those? Oops, it disappeared. Oh well. Yeah, I can't get it to go. Anyway, Princess Starseed T-shirts. 3. I've got some of those to give away. Delphine is going to give away 2 30-minute readings. I've got yes, thank you. I've got a bunch of little swag bags that I'm giving away with just some cute little things I think you guys will like. And so I've got some sage I'm giving away. I've got like just a couple of little gift swag bags that we're going to do a raffle. So please go to my website that Delphine put in the link. I mean, I think everybody here, if you have not signed up on my website, please do, because I sent out an official invite to everybody that is signed up on the website. Okay, you get a special invite. So so go to the KirstenKellyChronicles.com to the contact situation. Put your email in, and I will get that. And so so that you can be put into the drawing, the raffle for the prizes. So and then you can also read about the book before you get the book. And I also want to let everybody know that some of the questions, so we're going to do probably a little bit of like just a few little like multiple choices. So the answers are all on the website. So go there. Go to the KirstenKellyChronicles.com and put your, read what's on there, and we'll do some like multiple choice questions and maybe a couple other things. I'm trying to figure it out what we're going to do. So that's on Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. We'll do our roundtable. Lady D, she's going to be on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for her tarot readings that she usually does on Saturdays. She's giving me her day, so thank you very much, Delphine, for doing that, for letting me have your Saturday. So Thursday she'll be on. We'll be on Wednesday for the roundtable. And then Jason Bryan is doing a show on Sunday, I believe it is. Tomorrow, Soldier of Light and Jason Bryan are doing a show. He changed the channel, I guess, to Light Warrior. I can't remember what it said. Light something Warrior. Because last night, well, he was worried that he was going to get bounced because of the content from yesterday's show, which is actually really good. He's connecting the dots, and I think, so interesting to talk to. I mean, to see him doing that, connecting the dots with all these things. I don't remember what it's called, but anyway, he's doing, him and Soldier of Light will be on tomorrow on that channel. On the Light Warrior channel, I think is what he's calling it now. So anyway, and then Delphine on Thursday, and then Jason Bryan does another show on Sunday with Ishmael Perez, as I understand. So we got a lot going on this week. It's going to be a busy, busy week. So I am going to, let's see, the Wednesday roundtable will be a topic that is, oh, cool. Well, that's cool. I didn't know that. Thank you, JDD. So the Wednesday roundtable will be a topic that close to your book topic. Awesome. Well, there's a lot in my book, so I don't know. You guys, well, she's read it, so she'll be able to. And I will say, okay, this was the other thing I wanted to mention really quickly. So to those of you who were, I gave you guys the unedited manuscript to read. I've changed a little bit. I've added some stuff. So the book that actually comes out is going to have a few other things in it. And I found out that you can't. This is where my mind is. See, I'm more of spirit, right? I'm not worried. I'm not thinking about the money. I'm like, oh, well, cool. I just have people do a bunch of reviews. That would be fabulous. No, in Amazon, you have to freaking buy the book in order to put the review on, which kind of pisses me off, honestly. But whatever. So if you have read it or any part of it, and you can email me back and just let me know what it is that you think. I'm going to put it on the website. I can put your comments on my author page on Amazon, so somebody will see it. So anyway, all right. Well, I think that's it for today. And I guess I'll see you all on Wednesday for the roundtable. So thanks for joining me tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Brianna. I think that's what I'm going to probably have to do. And so anyway, so thanks for coming. Thanks to my moderators, and I will see everybody on Wednesday for the roundtable with Lady D, Joe, and Dennis. So until then, have a great night, everyone. I am out of here.